Hello guys and girls, and welcome back to another exciting video lesson with Miss Dangerfield. You may be looking at this right now and you may have noticed that this looks slightly different than the video lessons that we've done earlier this year. Usually, as you hear my voice, you also see a video of me down in the corner of the screen. And I decided to do things a little bit differently today. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. It is spring break right now. I am currently sitting on the couch in my PJs with my best friend Max. And I think if you saw me without my hair fixed and without any makeup on, you might be a little bit afraid, and I didn't want to scare anybody away on our first day back from spring break. So you are just going to be hearing my voice today. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I know it's a little bit different, but I hope that you guys like it just as much as the other video lessons that we've done this year. Before we jump in and get started, something that I have not done with our other video lessons, but I think it's super important to do, is I want to take just a quick second and talk about our expectations or the rules that I'm expecting you to follow as you're going through this lesson today. I'm going to go over these pretty quickly and then we'll jump in and get started. Number 1 says, do not disrupt the learning of others. All I mean by that, guys, is don't do anything that's going to distract the people around you. Make sure that you are focused on your lesson and you're not talking to or communicating with the people around you, because we're all working at our own pace right now. So there's really no need to be talking or working with people sitting beside you. Number 2, this is super important. Make sure that you are staying engaged with the video. Everybody should have your foldable already glued into your notebook. So one thing that I'm going to see you doing that's going to show me that you're engaged is you're going to be taking notes in that foldable. Also, obviously, your eyes should be on your computer screen. You should be listening and not tuning me out right now. So make sure that you are engaged and paying attention to the video that you're watching. Number 3, this is probably my favorite thing about doing these video lessons. If you feel like you have missed something or you feel like you need to hear something again, please, please, please don't be afraid to pause the video, rewind the video, watch it as many times as you need. That's one of the benefits of doing these video lessons, because in class, obviously, you can't pause me while I'm talking, although I'm sure some of you wish you could. But you can with these video lessons. So if you need to see something again, rewind, watch it again. And also, I know that some of you guys like to fast forward the video and skip some of the things I say. Please make sure that you're not doing that. Don't change the settings so that I'm talking faster. That really is not beneficial to you. You need to watch it at the regular speed. And if I notice that you're doing one of those things, it could possibly result in getting you an infraction, and we definitely don't want that on our first Monday back after spring break. Number 4, please be patient. You guys know from past experiences when we've done these that there are like 30 of you guys right now all trying to watch this video at the same time, and sometimes the video takes a minute or two to buffer and to load for you. So if you're having issues with your video freezing up, it's really simple. All you have to do is hit the pause button, wait about 30 or 45 seconds, and then hit the play button, and you should be good to go. If you are having any other issues and you can't seem to figure it out yourself, as always, step 5, raise your hand if you need any help. If you are following these 5 expectations, you are going to have a very successful day in class today with me. Alrighty, we are talking about something new today called Narrator's Point of View. As I just mentioned, everybody should have your foldable glued in your notebook. There will be several places in this video today where I will need you to pause the video and take some notes, but I will make sure to let you know when those times are, and you will not be writing down everything that you see today. So please listen very carefully to what I say so that you don't end up doing any extra work that you don't have to do. We have 2 new learning targets today. I've got them here on the screen for you, or if you look over at the sideboard, they're up there as well. Our first one says, I can classify point of view as first person, second person, third person objective, third person limited, or third person omniscient. And then the second one says, I can analyze how an author develops the narrator's point of view by revealing thoughts, feelings, actions, and spoken words. Those are the things that we are going to be learning about today. And to make things just a little bit more simple for you to understand what you need to do today in this class to be successful, here is our success criteria for today. It says, today I am learning about narrator's point of view. We're really just going to be talking about the basics today, definitions, and then you'll know you've got it when I can read a text and identify the narrator's point of view. And then here's the kicker, and explain how I know. So it's more than just being able to tell me that something that you read is first person or second person. It's really being able to explain how you knew the point of view. That's what's going to take you to that next level of learning. You might be thinking to yourself, Miss Dangerfield, didn't we just talk about point of view a couple of weeks ago? The answer to that question is yes, but it was a different kind of point of view. So before spring break, we spent some time talking about author's point of view. And we talked about how author's point of view is the way the author feels about the topic that they're writing about. So we read that article about if balloons should be banned. We read an article about if people should go to Mars. We read an article about video surveillance technology in stores. That was author's point of view, basically the author's opinion on the topic. Narrator's point of view is just a little bit different. So if you look at your foldable that you've got in front of you, the very top tab says narrator's point of view. And the definition that we're going to write down is the perspective from which a narrator tells a story. I would like for you to go ahead and pause the video right now and copy that definition on your top tab. Now, here's the deal. Narrators and authors are two different people. An author is a person who writes a story, while the narrator is the person who tells the story. So when we're talking about narrator's perspective or narrator's point of view, we're really thinking about the person who is telling the story. And there are 5 different narrator points of view that we're going to be talking about today. But before we dive in and really focus on those, there are a few things that I want you to remember. And we're actually not writing any of this down in your notes. But when you're trying to figure out the narrator's point of view, you need to make sure that you are not looking at dialogue. What I mean by that is we don't really care what the characters are saying in the story. So anytime that you see quotation marks and you're reading what somebody says, when you're trying to figure out the narrator's point of view, it's almost like you're going to pretend that that's not even there because we don't care about what the characters are saying. All we really care about is the person who is telling the story. Only the person telling the story matters, not what the people in the story are saying. The first narrator point of view that we're going to talk about is first person. And we're actually going to do things just a little bit differently with our notes today. Normally, when we're doing these videos, I kind of explain everything first and then I have you copy down the notes. Today, I want you to copy the notes first and then listen to me explain it. So when you're copying down the notes for first person, all you're going to need to write down is the definition that you see up here in bold black letters, as well as your keywords here. You do not have to copy down the examples at the bottom. So I'm going to have you pause the video here, copy down the definition and your keywords, and when you're ready, we will go through and explain these. First person point of view is when the narrator tells the story from his or her own perspective. And I don't know about you guys, but I am a super huge fan of amusement parks. I love Kentucky Kingdom, I love Kings Island, I love Holiday World. I love all of them. And my favorite thing about going to amusement parks is roller coasters. I love a good roller coaster. So I'm going to be using that as my example today. So if I were going to tell you about a roller coaster from first person point of view, I would be telling you my experience on the roller coaster. We would see some keywords like I or we. So, for example, I might say something like, I got in the seat on the roller coaster. I strapped in my seatbelt. I felt as we went up the hill. I screamed as we went down the hill. I would be telling you about my own personal experience on the roller coaster. You're going to see keywords like I or we because I'm telling my story. Down here at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a couple of example sentences. You see the keywords I. I went home. I couldn't play. I or we are super important because those are going to be your keywords for first person point of view. Now we're going to move on to second person point of view. On this slide, you're going to copy down again the definition that's up here in dark black writing, as well as the two keywords. You do not have to copy down the examples at the bottom. Second person point of view is when the narrator tells a story using the word you, which places the reader in the story. And your keywords with second person point of view are going to be you or your. Those are not the only keywords, but those are the ones you're probably going to see most often. And we're going to go back to my roller coaster example. So let's say that I was going to tell a story from second person point of view about roller coasters. I would be telling you the story and trying to put you in the story. So I might say something like, you get on the roller coaster, you strap in your seatbelt, you feel the roller coaster go up the hill, you scream as you go down the hill, you feel your heart beating fast. Second person point of view is when you're telling the story and you're trying to put the reader in the story. You're trying to make it feel like they're there themselves. For our example sentence down here, we've got first gather your materials. You've got that keyword right there, your, and that shows you that that is second person point of view. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is where it gets just a little bit more complicated. We're going to talk about third person point of view. And there's actually 3 different types of third person point of view. But before we talk about those, I want to just go over some of the general things with third person point of view. In third person point of view, the narrator usually isn't involved in the story. So, like for the first person point of view, the narrator's telling the story from their perspective. Second person point of view, the narrator's trying to make you feel like you're in the story. With third person point of view, the narrator is telling the story about other people. The key words with all the 3 different third person points of view that we're going to talk about are all the same. So you're going to see keywords like he, she, they, and them. And like we just talked about, there's 3 different types, and we're going to get into those in just a second. But let's go back to my roller coaster example first. If a narrator was telling a story about a roller coaster using a third person point of view, it would be like they were watching somebody else ride the roller coaster and they were telling what was going on with that person. So it's almost like you're down at the bottom watching somebody else ride the roller coaster and you're explaining what you see. So you might say things like, she went up the hill, she screamed as she came down, she threw up at the end of the roller coaster. It's like you can see what's happening, but you're not actually involved riding the roller coaster yourself. The big thing that you have to remember with third person point of view to try to figure out what type it is you have to think about the thoughts and the feelings of the characters. And we're going to look at some examples of that in just a second. The first third person point of view that we're going to be talking about is called third person objective point of view. So what I would like you to do first, just like with our other definitions, is I want you to copy down the definition before I do my explanation. And all you're actually going to need to copy down from this slide is this definition up at the top. It starts with the narrator and it's going to end with thoughts. So please go ahead and pause the video now and copy those notes. So, we've already talked about how with third person point of view, you've got the narrator telling the story about other people. And with third person objective, it's the same. The narrator is telling the story about others. They are not part of the story themselves. But what makes third person objective different from the other types is that when it's third person objective, the narrator cannot hear the character's thoughts. So it's almost like the narrator is watching what is happening and telling what they see and what they hear, but you can't see what's going on inside anybody's head. Just like it says here, you can only see the character's dialogue and their actions. Down at the bottom, we do have an example. It says, Tim slammed the door. He walked upstairs and read a note from Shay. He kicked her trash can and started crying. When we look at that example, we can see what Tim is doing, but we can't see inside his head. We can only see his actions. So that tells us that that is an example of third person objective point of view. That takes us to our second third person point of view, which is third person limited. This is a lot like third person objective because we are still telling a story about others, but what makes this different is that the narrator focuses their attention on one character. I would like you to go ahead and pause the video now and copy the definition that is up here at the top of your screen, and when you're ready, click play to move on. So, like I was saying, third person limited point of view focuses the attention on one character. And what makes it different from third person objective? Remember, third person objective, we cannot hear anyone's thoughts. And with third person limited, you can hear one of the character's thoughts in this story. So you can't see inside everybody's head, but you do see inside one person's head. So if you look at the example down at the bottom, it says Tim was mad at Shay. He blamed her. Shay just left without saying anything. So not only can we see what Tim was doing, but we can see how he's feeling. It tells us that he was mad and he was blaming Shay. Now, since we can't hear Shay's thoughts, we can only see what's going on inside Tim's head. That makes this third person limited point of view. Last but not least, we've got third person omniscient point of view. That's what this word is up here, omniscient. I would like you to go ahead and pause the video and copy the definition that is up here at the top of the screen. Please stop when you get to the word characters. Alright, so third person omniscient point of view is when the narrator is telling the story about others. And here's what makes it different from third person objective and third person limited point of view. With third person omniscient, the narrator knows the thoughts and the feelings of all characters. That means we can see what every single person in the story is thinking and how they're feeling. And one really good way to help you remember what omniscient means is by breaking it down into the prefix and the suffix of the word. So if you broke this word down, the prefix omni means all, and the suffix shint means knowing. So when you put it together, omniscient means all knowing. Our example down at the bottom says, Tim felt so much anger. He was mad at Shay. Shay knew in her heart that Tim would be mad, and she felt terrible about it. So if we look at this example, we can see how Tim is feeling. It shows us that he's feeling very angry, and we can also see how Shay is feeling. So she felt terrible about it. So that tells us, since we can see inside everybody's head, we know everyone's feelings, that that is third person omniscient point of view. All right, guys and girls, that is actually going to do it for our notes today. Thank you so much for your attention and for taking notes and for being engaged in this lesson. You do have one more quick step that you need to do before you're totally finished, which is hopping back over to our Google Classroom page and taking the assessment over this lesson. Remember, you can use your notes on that assessment, so take your time, answer the questions to the best of your ability, and don't forget when you're finished to raise your hand and make sure you show me your score. Again, thank you guys so much. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and click off this video, head to the Google Classroom page, and take the assessment.